The 400 Thunder Pro Bike Series began at Sydney Dragway with four-time Australian champion Maurice Allen the hot favourite. These machines are the factory hot rods of the motorcycle world, and in an inspirational final, it would be the laconic Darwin-based businessman Scott White capturing his first major title. And it's over. It is over. Scott White will take the win. A 7:29 puts an exclamation point on what has been a dream weekend for the Northern Territorian. Now, the series shifts west to the Perth Motorplex, and the pro bikes are back to set the track alight. Can Scott White continue his great start, or will the champion and the challengers take control of the series? Welcome to the West Coast Nitro. This is 400 Thunder. Time to go racing here with qualifying session number 1 for Pro Bike at the West Coast Nitro event. What a fantastic venue this is, and what a fantastic class this is. Always one of the most hotly contested classes that we have in the 400 Thunder series. First up, we've got Scott White, a perennial championship contender, looking to put his stamp on the championship. Very nice pass first up for Scott White. How's that? A 7.500. Probably not as quick as what he would have expected, but still a 7.50. Good off the trailer run. It's been a while since we've seen the pro bikes here at the Perth Motorplex, and to see him get down the track first up is good to see. You can see it left pretty nicely. Spun the tyre a little bit off the start line. Pulled the front wheel up, at really good riding style from Scott White as well. Really tucked in behind that fairing, gets it across the finish line, sits up, and this is going to demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about with the riding style. You can see he gets his butt way back in the seat. That's exactly what you want. Get the weight transfer back, then he sits up in the braking area, gets the weight over the front wheel to try and slow that thing down again. Reigning national champion Maurice Allen on the Vance & Hines bike. He's taking on Glenn Worcester, the Philip Russell Motorcycles Suzuki here in this second run. This is going to be a really good one because Glenn Worcester's a guy who, although he doesn't attend all the rounds, he has been a very strong racer for a long time in this class. And Maurice Allen, well, what can we say? Multiple-time national champion, the reigning national champion. We got a good side-by-side race on our hands here. Anything around 7:20 or better is a fantastic run in a pro bike, and I tell you what, that's a good one. 7:26 for Glenn Worcester. I think that's a PB for Glenn Worcester, and a 7:23 for Maurice Allen. That's getting right towards the pointy end of the field. Let's have a look at the slow-mo. A little bit of wheel spin for Glenn Worcester. Just spun the tyre ever so slightly off the start line. That would have eaten into his ET just a little bit, but look at the riding style from Maurice Allen. Fantastic job. He gets himself way back in the seat, gets his head down below the fairing. Beautiful technique. Great job from Maurice Allen. And let's talk about Glenn Worcester as well, because that's 7:26. It puts him in the number 2 qualifying spot at the moment. But I think that's also a personal best for him. He's way up there in the qualifying list. Certainly got that bike performing well. And we go on board with Maurice Allen. This is what life looks like at 291 kilometres per hour.
Look, you know, with what we've been doing with the bike, it's been excellent. So this meeting, we really needed this. So we come over a bit early, done a test day, and really the bike that just then it went fantastic. So I'm pretty happy. 720s for the first time, PB. Yeah, sponsors, you know, everyone that's put in, got the hard work, got us across the line to get us here. Excellent. Yeah.
So the final matchup of this first round of qualifying, we'll see Tony Hinkley on the only Kawasaki that we've got in the field, that beautiful green machine, taking on Ryan Learmont, the local racer from WA, racing for Star Racing and the Moving Man. A really good young racer who's come through the ranks. He's done the hard yards in the lower classes and the sportsman classes, and it's great to see this team stepping up to pro bike. Ooh. Very ugly, in fact, very ugly launch on both sides of the racetrack. Not sure what happened there for Learmont, maybe a gear selector problem, but Tony Hinkley, very ugly off the start line. That bike bouncing around a lot, didn't even come up really on the revs as it left. These bikes usually sound very crisp, very clean and very clear, but that time around it was up and down like a yo-yo. Not the way to go quick on these things, but I tell you what, they'll be back for the next round of qualifying. You can even see physically the way this bike moves around on Tony Hinkley. That is an ugly run, but I'm sure we'll see him back.
Not really sure. When I tried to come up on the two-step, it just seemed like it dropped You know, it just wasn't revving like it does. Normally revved very, very crisply, and obviously when I dropped the clutch, that's what happened. It just wasn't revving enough and didn't take off well.
Yeah, we didn't do so well. We took off in first gear, second gear, sorry, instead of first, and yeah, not good.
Second round of qualifying now, and we heard the problems that Ryan Learmonth had in that first round. Unfortunately left in second gear. A bit unusual, don't see that happen too often, but it is an easy mistake to make, these bikes running the sequential shifters. And if you leave it in second gear, I can tell you right now the bike does not want to go. Bogs down off the start line and basically ruins your run. And that's a shame because Ryan Learmonth, that team, they are a genuine contender in this class this weekend. And this run is going to prove it. Look at the angle on the bike for Ryan Learmonth, hanging way off the left-hand side of that motorcycle. Still gets it across the line. Great run for him, 7.50. That'll slot him into the number 4 position provisionally as it stands at the moment. Tony Hinkley, still a few problems with a 9.47 for him. But Ryan Learmonth, this is going to be a great replay because it's going to show you exactly what these guys need to do when the bike gets out of the groove. And by the groove, I mean that thick black strip right down the center of the lane. You can see it starts coming towards the wall. Instead of turning the front wheel, he actually leans off the side of the motorcycle, tries to muscle that thing over. Really, really good riding style there from Ryan Learmonth. Second qualifying run for these guys. It is Morris Allen, the reigning national champ on the Vance & Hines 400Thunder motorcycle. You can see the big sticker for the El Presidente on the side of the motorbike, and Glenn Worcester, the Philip Russell Motorcycles machine out of Victoria. And a guy who's been around for a long, long time in this class and has always run on a budget that has punched way above his weight. Again, problems getting it off the start line. Very, very finicky, these machines, when it comes to the clutch setup and the launch RPMs and that kind of thing. Morris Allen gets it down there, backs up that earlier 720 with a 735, 290 kilometres per hour, so still legs it out across the finish line. Good run for him. But problems for Glenn Worcester. I'm not sure what the issue was off the start line. Still ran a 789, which in the scheme of things is a respectable time, but you can see just bobbing around, bouncing like one of those bucking bulls that you see in the rodeo, and did a good job of riding it. On board with Morris Allen, the knee comes out a little bit just to correct the bike a little in the middle of the run, and a very, very clean, crisp run for Morris Allen. Still under the lights for the third round of qualifying, and this is the proud Northern Territorian. It is Scott White, always flying the Northern Territory flag on the side of that motorcycle, racing for Darwin Bolt Supplies, and he will be taking on the Philip Russell Motorcycles bike of Glenn Worcester this time around. Again, on paper, this should be a great matchup because these guys have been running pretty close over the course of the last couple of seasons. Good side-by-side launch, and it's clean. The bike's not bouncing around at all on either side of the racetrack. Worcester pulls in front at the finish line, and that's a good run for him. How's that? A 7.308. 7.308. Look at the speed, 298 kilometres per hour, almost giving 300 a nudge. That is a fantastic run for that team. Scott White was right alongside him, 7.39 at 276 kilometres per hour. The bike maybe came up a little bit for Scott White on the close side of the racetrack. You can see it just reared up on him as he pulled a gear, but I tell you what, still a very, very solid performance. So we have a look at our qualifying list. Morris Allen will lead us into eliminations with that 7.23. Glenn Worcester right behind. Scott White in third. Ryan Learmonth in fourth. And Tony Hinkley rounding out the field. Welcome back to the Perth Motorplex. We are set for a start in the first round of racing. That's Glenn Worcester. Let's hear from him now.
Look, I'm from Warrnambool in Victoria, so we're down on the Great Ocean Road. And for me to travel engine builder, Trevor Birrell, he's in Adelaide, so I've got a day trip over there, and then to come to this meeting, we've got another 2 days on the road then obviously, so it's a big haul. Load up the trail, try not to forget anything at all, which sometimes we do. But yeah, then once we get here, you start on the bike. So, and that's the main thing. That's the good part of the weekend. In between, you get a bit of lay day down at the beach. But yeah, it's hard work usually at the track trying to get the numbers out of the machine. Yeah.
Big commitment from all involved, all of our races across all of our 400 Thunder categories. These are your matchups heading into the first round. Morris Allen gets the bike courtesy of that top qualifying position. Scott White will do battle with Ryan Learmonth, and Glenn Worcester will battle Tony Hinkley. Hinkley on one of the prettiest motorcycles in this field. It's the only Kawasaki in the field, and we caught up with him a little bit earlier.
This is really my first or my rookie year, I suppose, and first venture out on my own. It's no, look. There's here in WA in particular, there's great camaraderie amongst all the racers here. Our son sort of grew up here amongst all the races and everything else, and he's now racing. So it's really much a family sport for us. So much a family sport that the current bike my wife bought for me was a 50th birthday present. So it's it's a great sort of family thing, and it's a very significant thing in our family for sure. And just well, obviously the thrill of going fast as well. It's one of those things. Once you go fast, you want to go faster, and that's what keeps us coming back, I suppose.
Well, we heard from both of our combatants for this first round of racing, and we are set for a start here. Worcester in the left-hand lane, or the far lane as you look at it from our camera down track. Hinkley on the green motorcycle. Good, clean race. Really close on the reaction times. Hinkley, whole shot. Worcester, but Worcester over near the wall. That's not where you want to be on one of these bikes. He pulls it back into the centre lane in a 7.51, probably subpar from what we've expected from him over the course of the weekend, but still it gets the win light. That's the main thing for Worcester, and he will move on to the semi-finals, taking a lot of speed into that bottom end turn as well. But Glenn Worcester takes it. Unfortunately for Hinkley, he's got a big problem here. That motorcycle's on its side. That is a terrible, terrible thing for Tony Hinkley there. The good news is he's up and on his feet, the fire crew are with him, and oh man, that is scary. Don't know what happened there, don't know if we got it on replay, but Tony Hinkley, that is not the way you want to end the weekend. A loss is bad enough, but to throw the bike down in the process is even worse. I'm glad that he is A-OK. Looks like the bike was pretty clean on the first half of the racetrack, but went quiet for whatever reason. You can see Glenn Worcester over, way over. He's doing his best impression of a MotoGP rider. He's almost hanging off that motorcycle so far. Good win for him, but Tony Hinkley, no idea what's happened. The wall cam doesn't tell us anything. Let's go find out.
Just going through the braking area, and when I was drifted across to the centre line, once I hit the centre line, just the front wheel washed out from underneath me and hit the deck. So,
how fast were you travelling at the time?
I'm not really sure. I sort of washed a fair bit of speed off, so maybe 100 k's an hour, something like
How did you land exactly?
that. Sort of obviously shoulder and head hit fairly hard, but we get made, or not made, we actually want to wear this safety gear, so it all held together real well and no real issues.
I didn't know what was going on, actually. I was having my own trouble hanging out left air in the lane. The wind sort of got me a bit that time, but I knew it was starting to make some power, and I thought, oh, ease off and get it back. And then when I got down the other end, I knew something was going on in the braking area, because obviously all the emergency vehicles and that were, it was all happening.
Scott White, our number 3 qualifier, features prominently in our next matchup. Let's catch up with the Northern Territorian.
Took me a year to learn to get up on the back seat, and people look at me like I'm stupid when I say that, but that's the truth of it, is that, you're going forward so fast, and there's this thing you got to move your bottom up to the back step, to get the wind over the back there. And it took me a whole season to get that to happen, because you're just moving so fast and there's so many things to think about at the time, and you're busy steering and driving, and you're going to tell your body to move backwards at the time. Very hard to do. That one last qualifier is all the information we have to go on, and we've got to find the horsepower in there. We got Ryan in round 1, and he's on the ball. He knows his track. He's younger and sharper. These young blokes with quick reactions. We've got to try and ride around them.
I tell you what, you have got to love Scott White, the laconic Northern Territorian. And he knows that the young guys are sharp on the tree. So he just says, you know what, I've got to go out there and do a decent job on the tree and hope that the bike's got the power to ride around him. He doesn't try and gloss over the fact, but he is a solid racer, probably one of the most experienced racers in this field. He's slotting in alongside Ryan Learmonth on that beautiful flame machine on the far side of the racetrack. Very clean on both sides. What a good drag race. What a good drag race. Scott White and Ryan Learmonth turning it on for the Perth Motorplex crowd, and Ryan Learmonth takes it on a hole shot. Scott White was talking about having to be sharp on the tree. Well, guess what? He just got done on a hole shot. It was all about the reaction times. Off the start line, Learmonth was 0.31. Scott White was 0.98, which is not a bad reaction time by any stretch of the imagination. But at the other end of the racetrack, Ryan Learmonth was a little bit slower, 7.51, 7.47 up on the boards for Scott White. He tried to ride around the outside of him. He couldn't do it. Ryan Learmonth maintained that start line advantage all the way to the finish line, and there is less than half half a wheel in it at the finish line. What a race from these two guys, Ryan Learmonth and Scott White. I absolutely tip my hat to these guys, because to ride one motorcycle down the track in quick succession is good, but to do two side by side in such a good drag race, fantastic for this crowd.
Yeah, it was an awesome race. That's what Pro Stock Motorcycle is all about, you know, close, tight racing, and it was awesome.
My team have worked so hard this weekend. We've swapped motors and we've done all sorts of stuff, and we just got it right. But it's one of those rare occasions where rider error comes into it, and I just short shifted to 2 gears for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. And that just bogged it a little bit, and it was a very close race. Neither of us knew who won.
Wow. Well, we go from that race to a solo pass here, but I don't think Morris Allen will be taking it easy. He needs to test his motorcycle against this track. It's been a while since we've seen the pro bikes here at the Perth Motorplex, and Morris Allen, he gets the solo pass courtesy of that #1 qualifying effort. The bike just drives straight for the centre line there, but he pulls it back in. Very, very nice, clean run. And how's that? A 7:45, 280 kilometres per hour. He is the quickest of our winners of the first round of racing, and is low ET for the first round of racing as well. So Morris Allen will move on to the semi-finals. He will have to do battle with Ryan Learmonth, though. That's going to be a good one. Only 0.02 of a second difference between those two motorcycles heading into the semi-final round. As we go on board yet again with Morris Allen, we're hanging off the other side this time. You can see the leg just came out ever so slightly to try and get that bike to move back across to the left-hand side of the racetrack for Morris Allen.
Good to see Ryan get a win. Local guy, so, for him and his local sponsors, that'll be great for them. And obviously, the TV coverage will certainly be helpful as well. So, good on him. Well done.
We are due to start the semi-finals here at the West Coast Nitro event, and Pro Bike is on track right now, and the lucky man who has the solo pass into the final round is Glenn Worcester. I don't expect him to take it easy here, though. He needs to get all the data on this racetrack that he can. He's already talked about how big a job it is to get here from Warrnambool in Victoria. He's definitely going to make it count this weekend. He's on his way to the final round. And keep in mind, he's also running for lane choice. The quicker motorcycle out of our winning two motorcycles, they will get the lane choice. That means they get to choose which lane they race in the final round. Very solid pass for Glenn Worcester, a 7:46. That's setting the bar very, very high for whoever is going to win in the next pair that we will have on track. Glenn Worcester, 292 kilometres an hour as well, almost 293. He's really been on top of that bike all weekend long. Another racer who's really stepping up this weekend is Ryan Learmonth.
Because I'm young, I think, I have more of an edge, on reaction times and stuff like that on the other guys. They've got the experience in tuning, which I don't have, but I'm trying to learn that. I don't know, experience comes with time, so I've got to put in the time to get their experience, really. So.
How many seasons has it been for you in this category now?
I've been racing pro bike now for just over 2 years. This is our sort of second full season, and we're learning a lot. It's hard because you only race sort of 5 times a year, and so you need to do a lot of runs to get a lot of data to be able to tune. And we're learning, still. So.
Ryan Learmonth talked about experience, and one man who has experience in spades is Morris Allen, our reigning national champ.
Look, the sport has just evolved incredibly from a technological aspect, and I think that's what's exciting about what we do in this crazy sport, is that there's always the ability to come up with something new and something different that might just give you an edge over an opponent. And I think that's what we love about it, because we're all madly deeply hooked on the sport, and it's the old saying, once it's in your blood, it's very hard to get out of it.
It certainly is. Second generation racer Morris Allen, and definitely one with a very, very good pedigree in this sport. And Ryan Learmonth, obviously a family effort as well. Great to see him making it through to the semi-final with a shot at the final round here as well. But he has one little obstacle, and that is Morris Allen, the reigning national champion, in the other lane. Oh, huge hole shot. Oh, problems on both sides of the track. Oh, this is very unusual. I tell you what, that's a shame for Ryan Learmonth, but I don't think that Morris Allen is going to have the momentum to get to the finish line here. In fact, he's certainly not. And I can see that Ryan Learmonth has taken the initiative here. This race is still on, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a fantastic finish. Both riders off the bikes, pushing them to the finish line. The crowd is going absolutely insane here at the Perth Motorplex. Listen to it, the smiles on the face of the crew. You've got to remember, this is still for championship points and a spot in the final round. We're almost at half track. It's the slowest drag race you've ever seen in your life, but I tell you what, it's one of the most exciting you will ever see in your life. You've got to remember, these bikes weigh nearly 300 kilos each. So for these riders to be pushing these bikes down the track, this track is fully prepared. It's sticky. It means it will slow the bike down. The rolling resistance on the tyres alone would be sapping the energy from these guys. You've got to remember, they're not wearing running shoes either. In fact, Ryan Lemont has jumped on. He's doing a little bit of a billy cart job on the Flame motorcycle. Oh man, this is incredible, incredible stuff. Morris Allen's out in front, but you've got to remember, he's got about 20 years on Ryan Lemont as well, so will the fitness of the younger rider come through? He needs to make up a differential of around about 60 metres right now. Morris Allen out in front. They haven't had any assistance from outside the motorcycles, so this race is still on. Morris Allen can't touch the wall. If he touches the wall, that's an instant disqualification. He's out in front. I think he's going to get there. You can see the blue and white checkers of the finish line coming up, and Morris Allen takes probably the hardest win of his career. Insane stuff, and I think that we may need to call the ambulance right now for Morris Allen, because he's almost at the finish line, walking pace, and he brings up the timers. In fact, the timers can't even record a time. It comes up to 65 seconds. That's the maximum that our timers go to. Round of applause for Morris Allen and Ryan Lemont. That is just about the most insane drag race that you will ever see. Quick, someone get the oxygen for Morris Allen. He's down on his haunches, and I can understand why, wearing full leathers, that is a tough deal to push those bikes all the way to the finish line. Ryan Lemont's probably isn't exactly feeling as fresh as a daisy as well. But man, oh man, it wasn't quick, but it was exciting. Morris Allen takes a few well-deserved breaths there. Let's have a look at where it all went wrong. It seems like it was about 3 years ago now. Ryan Lemont, not sure what happened there. He went straight down to the gear selector, so maybe a replay of those incidents from earlier on in the event. Whatever the problems were, it doesn't matter. The old adage, if you can't be quick, be spectacular, really applies here.
I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell you, I never expected I could have picked the outcome of that race. If I'd have known that, I'd have put some decent running shoes on and maybe got my Fitbit, you know. And that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah, mate, we tried. He had a half-track advantage, so what can I say, you know? I'm younger, but yeah, it's just, you know, it's too hard to run him down.
And the final round now. It rolls around, and it was probably the hardest earned berth into a final round that Morris Allen has ever had to do. He's going to take on Glenn Worcester, who's feeling very fresh in comparison, let's be honest. He actually got to ride his motorcycle all the way to the finish line in the last round. But Morris Allen, all jokes aside, that was an incredible win, and it shows the kind of commitment that these guys have to winning. It's all about the points, it's all about the 400 Thunder trophies, and it's all about winning that championship. Morris Allen, he's looking to go back-to-back. Glenn Worcester is standing in his way. These two guys in the number 1 and 2 qualifiers. This is going to be a good one. Oh, problems for Morris Allen after all the hard work he put in the semi-final. And Glenn Worcester takes it on what is a very, very competitive run. A 7:32 at 296 kilometres per hour for Glenn Worcester. He was first off the start line as well, 0.33 on the tree. Morris Allen, that's not a good way to end the weekend for him, but I think he'd still be pretty happy taking away the runner-up trophy and the runner-up points, more importantly, for this championship. Morris ended up with a 16-second run at only 52 kilometres per hour. Obviously not representative of what that bike can do. So we have a look at the replay. You can see it was fairly clean right off the start line, and as soon as he went to plug second gear, Morris Allen, bike went silent, the shift light was still on, and Morris sat up. He knew at that point that this race was lost, and Glenn Worcester really puts the exclamation point on what has been a fantastic weekend for that team. Great job to the team from Warrnambool in Victoria.
It's been a long couple of weeks, but yeah, look, to get here now, I'm wide awake and yeah, feel pumped. So it's great. Like we were saying, the sponsors over over the time wheelie ways, Phil Russell motorcycles, precision porting, all them guys, our crew, Trevor, Jenny, Darren, Terry that couldn't make it this weekend. There's been years, going into this, and to have the bike running so well now, we'll just keep, getting back out there. So chase the rest of the championship through and see if we have some fun.
And chase the championship he will. He is leading the championship. Congratulations to Glenn Worcester, 177 points. Scott White in second and Morris Allen in third. This promised it to be a good one. There's less than 50 points separating the top three. At this point in time, it's just about anyone's to win. On next week's show, we've got top fuel from the Perth Nitro Max event. The kings of the sport, the Nitro guzzling dragsters. It is going to be a fantastic show. Smiles all round for Glenn Worcester and Morris Allen, and why wouldn't there be 2 trophy winners at the end of this week? And it's been a great event. We'll see you next time on 400 Thunder.